Man, oh man, have we got a week ahead for you. Didn't you just want to be that guy hitting that anvil? I wanted to be that guy for just a minute with a beard that good. Man, absolutely incredible. This is going to be an incredible week. We had a great start last night. God moved the rain away just in time. Yeah, that rodeo would have been less than fun in a thunderstorm, baby. But, well, we've got everything lined up, man. This is incredible. This is an event. This is an event I would come to if it wasn't my event. I mean, we have the former president of Ford Motor Company, who arguably has done one of the greatest business turnarounds in American business history with us. Alan Mulally. Alan, I mess your name up every time I say it. But this guy's incredible. Dan Cathy is here, Chick-fil-A CEO. Come on, Chick-fil-A people. Bring it. My friend Arthur Laffer is here, Art Laffer, and Art has got some stories. Art was on Reagan's Economic Advisory Council and part of the cabinet at one point. He is the father of Reaganomics. Supply-side economics is a phrase he invented. That's how smart this guy is. He's got some great stories and some great insights into the economy going forward. Our own #1 best-selling author of the book, Retire Inspired, Chris Hogan. Yeah. Juliet Funt is with us, the CEO of White Space at Work. This is solid information. You're going to want to see this stuff. Christy Wright, #1 best-selling author of the book, Business Boutique, is with us, another Ramsey personality. Our own from Texas here. I say our own, we're in Texas. So our Gary Kelly is with us, the CEO and chairman of Southwest Air. Southwest Air, bringing it. Yeah, love it. And you guys flew most of these people here this week, so hope you're happy. Yeah. In some cases, flying around in circles, dodging storms, but it wasn't your fault. Donald Miller is with us, author of the book Story Brand, and I got to tell you, that this information has changed our organization. Donald and I have become really close, good friends. I really love this guy. He's brilliant. Do not miss a moment of any of these sessions. Probably the best marketing mind on the planet, in my mind anyway, is my friend Seth Godin. He will be here, and he is, author of the book Tribes. He invented phrases like permission marketing, and if you ever heard the phrase going viral, Seth invented the phrase. That's how smart he is. I mean, this is unbelievable. His writings, and of course, Dr. Condoleezza Rice, the 66th Secretary of State, is going to be with us on Wednesday. I mean, this is rocking, you guys! And there's over 2,000, approaching 3,000 of you in this room. Hey, there's a lot of people here you're going to want to meet. Let me tell you, 60% of the people in this room work for a family-owned business or operate a family-owned business. 60+% of you work with or for or own a company that has less than 50 team members. This is small business people in this room. So if you don't connect in the lobby, if you don't connect at the events, if you don't connect and talk to other people other than the people you came with, you miss something. A lot of smart people in this room, a lot of people doing smart things all over the marketplace in this room. And it's no coincidence that this summit is, of course, being held here in San Antonio, Texas. We were in Boston a little bit earlier, and that town certainly symbolizes independence and the Boston Tea Party and the shot heard around the world with the American Revolution. And we did an event a while back in Philadelphia and got to tour and see all the places there and learn a little bit more of the history. I'm kind of a minor history buff. I just love hearing about how these things happened. And right down the road here is a sacred place. It's called the Alamo. I picked up and you know, you probably have heard this story. I picked up an autobiography by Davy Crockett. Now, Davy Crockett was illiterate. And so his autobiography, if you ever get the chance to read it, is in Hooked on Phonics. It's done phonetically. And so bear is spelled B-A-R. He killed a bar. He killed a lot of bar. He ate bar. His family ate bar. They ate a lot of bar. And he could kill anything with a musket. The ability that those guys, those frontiersmen had with those muskets was absolutely uncanny. And Crockett, of course, became a celebrity, and during the time of Andrew Jackson's presidency, served in Congress and had about all he could take of civilized people. he spent most of his time in the backwoods shooting bar. And so he was pretty disgusted with the people of Tennessee when they did not reelect him. And he and a group of his characters, and this was a bunch of characters, I'm telling you, Scotch-Irish descent, they would fight a rock. They're unbelievable. I mean, think William Wallace's descendants about 5 generations later. About a handful of those guys came down to Texas because they heard there was a fight, and they were just up for a fight. And they became known as the Volunteers, which is how the University of Tennessee's football team and sports team got its name, the Volunteers. The Tennessee Volunteers came to Texas and served there in the Alamo to their death, as you know. And pretty incredible. So we kind of think there's some symbolism there. Have you ever heard the phrase, draw a line in the sand? When I was a kid, I didn't know where it came from, but if you were on the playground in the neighborhood I grew up in, you drew a line in the sand, step across that line, that's about the time you get your nose bloodied. Somebody's going to reach over and black your eye or bloody your nose. Maybe you didn't grow up that way, but I was a redneck kid, and that's how I grew up. You draw a line in the sand, it's a big deal. And that story actually, if you didn't know, comes from the Alamo. I didn't know that until recently. And if you cross that line, you are joining forces or you are picking a fight or both when you cross a line that's drawn in the sand. Colonel William Travis, in the heat of the battle, he knew that there were 1,000 Mexican soldiers outside the Alamo and there were only 200 people inside the Alamo. And it didn't look good. As a matter of fact, they were pretty sure they were all going to die, and they were right. The women and children were spared, but the men were not. And legend has it, and this was the witnesses, the ladies that survived and so forth, told the story that in the middle of that, when it looked the bleakest, Travis pulled out his sword, one that looks pretty much like that, actually. That's the same vintage, around the same time, early 1800s. And he stepped and drew a line in the sand. And he said, those of you that are willing to fight for freedom, that are willing to give your lives for freedom, step across that line, and that will symbolize that you're on this team. No shame if you don't, but it's time for you to go, because the rest of us are going to give our lives for freedom. Draw a line in the sand. And as legend says, and it's accurate, I'm sure, they all stepped across the line, and the Alamo sacrifice that was to become the battle cry for Texas's independence, remember the Alamo, was born with draw a line in the sand. So that's going to be our theme. Not that you have to give your life to something, literally, but when we're running a business metaphorically, we pour ourselves out for it. We get her done. We get up, we leave the cave, we kill something, we drag it home. We fight, we scratch, we claw, even when nobody understands. And we draw a line in the sand, and with our team, we say, you going to be on this side? Because I'm of that same Scotch-Irish heritage that Davy Crockett was. And you're either with me or you're against me. You're on my team or you're not. If you're not on my team, you can be a friendly competitor or a friend in the marketplace. I love those. We've got lots of them. Lots of you are those kinds of folks, and you're here. But if you won't be on the other side, you pick a fight with a hillbilly. Because the bunch on my side will take you on. We're knit together. We spent hours and hours and hours and thousands of dollars making sure that we trust each other and that we have each other's back. We've drawn a line in the sand. You see, hillbillies, we don't do drive-by shootings. We buy the house next door and lay siege. So that's what we want you to do this week. We want you to draw that line in the sand and say, I'm going to learn how to lead at a different level so that my team understands that there's a line. And you're either with me, or as we say in Tennessee, you're against me. That would be how Davy Crockett would have said it. Against me, against me. You're on my team or you're not. And then I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to turn my back and not worry about my throat getting slit from behind. And your team can turn their back and trust you because you're worthy of trust. That's an intentional act. And it's something you get to practice every single day when you're leading. Now, I'll guarantee you we've practiced it. We get to practice it over and over and over again. So let's open up our workbooks. We're going to dive into the first lesson. I thought it was appropriate to kick off a line in the sand with a lesson I love called Spineless Leader is an Oxymoron. As an entree leader, passivity is simply not an option. Passive leader is by definition an oxymoron. You can't sit back and watch everything happen and call yourself a leader. By definition, a leader is moving because a leader gets there first. Who's the leader in a race? The one that gets there first. I lead from behind. No, you don't. You are a behind. You're not a leader. You're a cattle herder. You can't lead from behind. You're going to move at the speed of the slowest team member, which, as you will find, is often not moving at all. Now, we're going to lead from the front and go, we're going this way. You went on this team? This is where we're going. And if you don't come with us, you're going to be left and wondering why you didn't get on this train, because this train's moving, baby. We're going this way. Passivity is not an option for a real leader. Your business and your team will be paralyzed if you're an indecisive leader. As a young leader, when I first started, I found myself in situations where I just didn't know what to do. Now, I'm a high DI on the DISC, which means I make decisions very quickly, and if it's the wrong decision, I'll just make another one. So I wasn't always indecisive, but I was insecure. I didn't know if I could pull this off. I didn't know if this decision's right. Now, there's very few times you know where the decision's right or wrong, but these days, after doing this for 20, 30 years now, I kind of know certain situations, and so it appears that my patience is running thin. That's not it at all. I just made the decision with a lot more confidence because I've already been there, done that, and I know what to do. Shut up, we're going. Boom. You seem to not think about that very much. Did you take all the things into consideration? Yeah, 25 years ago I did. So it's easier now. But when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I was scared. Every time you take a step, is it the right step? Am I going, is this one going to sink? Am I going down here? Is there a problem? And it scares you to death. Indecision, truthfully, in my case and in yours, when I was indecisive in those early days or insecure in those early days, it's caused by one thing, and that's fear. The only reason people won't make decisions is fear. And if you don't say you're afraid, then you're not being real, you're a liar. We all get afraid. We don't know what to do. Every time you try something new, you don't know if it's going to work. Every time you launch a new product, you don't know if it's going to work. Every time you call somebody, you don't know if they're going to take your call. You don't know if it's going to work. I mean, we've been putting these screens up for 3 days. We didn't know if they were going to work. Thank you, Jesus. They worked. Our guys, give our guys a round of applause. They've been working their butts off, man. The team we've been working with has worked almost all night making sure this is dialed into perfection, and absolutely incredible. I'm so proud of them. But fear will cause you to not do anything. If we try this, it might not work. You ever said that? If you try it, it might not work. If you don't try it, it won't work. It's normal to be afraid. The trick is how to work through that fear and still make decisions and still make wise decisions. That's the trick we're looking for. The Bible says a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. When you are indecisive, when you can't make the call, your team loses energy because they think they're following a wuss. Because they're following a wuss. That's why they think that. It paralyzes everyone when you don't know what you're doing. and when you can't make a call. Again, I'm from Tennessee, so I've got all these Tennessee stories, but some of your states, they have the same thing. We have a squirrel problem in Tennessee. You ever driving along the road and you almost total a $50,000 automobile for a 19-cent squirrel? I have seen people do this. You ever see the squirrel? He goes running out in the road and he goes, blum, blum. It's what happens if you don't make the call. You become roadkill. You got to make the call. I don't care which side you want to be on. You want to be on the left? Get on the left. You want to be on the right? Get on the right. But don't be lukewarm. Jesus said that. Make a call. Be is or isn't. Draw a line in the sand. This is what we're going to do. I'm not positive it's right, but I own the freaking place. This is what we're going to do. As for me and my house, this is what we're going to do. We're going to serve the Lord. This is how we walk. This is what you do when you're a Ramsey. This is what you do when you're a Ramsey personality. This is what you do when you're on the Ramsey team. It means something to have that name. And in your name, it needs to mean something. It means something when you say Chick-fil-A, doesn't it? Instantly, there's all these brand mechanisms that are turned loose inside of you because their whole culture has invaded ours. It means something when you say Southwest Air, doesn't it? It means that you're actually going to find smiling people who don't drag you off their airplane by the hair. Isn't it interesting? I mean, doesn't it? Instantly you go, that's different. Right? It means something. It means something to be associated once you draw that line in the sand. And let me tell you, nothing moves unless it's shoved, and every time something is shoved, there's friction. People are not going to like it when you do something. And the more of something you do, the more people won't like it. And now they live in their mother's basement and they write a blog about it. People are stupid. If you wait on people to approve everything you do, you're never going to do anything. If you want to be completely liked, stay at home and never leave your home, and don't get on the internet. There's no way, no possible way. If you have contact with more than 2 human beings ever, you're going to find someone that doesn't like something about something that you said, did, wished, desired, whatever. People will drive you crazy. We bail our hate mail. I use it for kindling in the winter. We answer all letters that come to Ramsey except hate mail, and there's no point in answering hate mail because they weren't asking a question. They weren't seeking out advice. They were trying to tell us how to run our business. And we call it the Dave Ramsey Show because it's my freaking show. Why is this hard? If you don't like what I'm saying, get you a show. Why is this hard? But, it doesn't matter. I'm on the air. 15 million opportunities for me to piss somebody off every day, right? Criticism goes with the territory. You better do it in spite of the criticism. Well, there's constructive criticism. Not much. Not much. There's market research where you find out what your customers actually like, and you learn from your customers, the people who care about you. But we've bred a whole new level of troll in this culture now. And there's no sense listening to these trolls. Well, you need to respond. No, I'm not going to respond unless I'm just doing it for entertainment value on Twitter. But other than that, I'm not going to respond. I'll mess with you and just, I got about 800,000 folks I'll turn loose on you if you want to do something on Twitter. We'll dance. But, it's just that's for entertainment value, and that's that particular type of social media. It's very conflict-based, and you grow your listenership, your viewership, by your followership, by engaging in those idiots. But they're not going to form my business model. Well, Dave, I don't like that you talk about politics sometimes. Okay, listen to something else. I've been doing it 25 years. I'm not likely to change. Well, I wish you would just stay over here and just work on the debt snowball. No. You see what I'm saying? Do you have those opportunities in your business? I wish you guys wouldn't. I wish you would just do what I want. Why do you care about you run your life. You got a full-time job. Criticism is something a leader is going to face. Am I right? Say yes. Yes. And you make the decision in spite of it, not because of it. You're not going to make them happy. 2% of the American public should be institutionalized. You're not going to make them happy, okay? Elements of good decision making. Okay, now in the midst of all that, how do we make really great decisions? The first thing is deciding not to decide is a decision, and it can be the right decision. How many of you are high D or high I and you've taken the DISC thing? Well, everybody here is taking it, I guess, right? Yeah, so, okay, there we go. Yeah. And so you are going to make decisions too quickly like I do. And you feel the need to make a decision because you should make a decision. Dave just did a thing on decisions. I need to make a decision. And sometimes deciding not to decide and letting these things play out, like he's driving his car over the cliff, and you get back and you go, I don't think I can stop it no matter what I do. I can jump in front of the car and die as he goes over the cliff, or I can just watch. Have you ever been really angry and sent an email or made a decision you wished you didn't make? Say yes. Have you ever been really scared and made a decision or sent an email that you wished you hadn't done while you were scared? Say yes. If you're breathing and you're a leader, you have to answer yes to both those or you're lying to yourself. I have. I've violated both of those. And sometimes I figured out if I just wait overnight, my brain grows back. Because I'm not so pissed off I can't breathe. Does that make sense? Or if I wait overnight, all those things that were going to be the end of the world, you get up the next morning, it's a little mouse. Like, it's nothing. It's nothing. Just step on it. It's done. It's a lot of death of animals in this talk, but procrastination can be avoided by setting a self-imposed deadline. If you're a high C or high S, raise your hand. Should be roughly 40% of you in the room. Yeah, that looks about right. You were trying to decide whether to raise your hand or not, right? So the C needs all the details. The S needs to make sure all the people are in line and everybody's happy before they can move along, typically. So what you have to do in those cases is you have to force yourself to make a decision, and the good way to do that is write a deadline, put a deadline down, recognizing the reality of an actual deadline, or just set a deadline. This is driving me crazy. I keep putting up with it. I keep kicking the can down the road, and so I am going to decide August the 1st if this person is going to stay. I'm not going to worry about it anymore. I'm going to put it on my calendar, and between now and then, I'm going to continue to gather facts, continue to observe, continue to pray for them, continue to think about how they think, how they look, and then on August the 1st, I'm actually going to make the decision because I've been putting it off for no reason other than I've been putting it off. Does that make sense? Say yes. You need a deadline. Write it down. When you're making a decision, take time that is proportionate to the impact of the decision. If you're running a $10 million top-line organization a year, which a bunch of you in here are, based on those numbers I gave you a while ago, if you're making $1 million decision, that's a huge freaking decision. If you're making a decision to buy copier paper, don't be paralyzed. People get paralyzed about the wrong things on making a decision. Slow down on the big ones, speed up on the slow ones, on the little ones, so that slow down on the big ones, speed up on the little ones, and when you speed up on the little ones, it gives you more time and margin, emotional, spiritual energy to work on the big ones. Because if you got 15 little ones in your head while you're working on a big one, it distracts you from what you should be focusing on. Make the call on the little ones, clear your brain so you can focus on the big one or delegate on one. Get them out of your brain so you can move on. If you're debating on copier paper and you miss signing the lease on time on your $1 million deal, that would be a problem. Because the copier paper distracted you. The consumer does this all the time. We see it in the financial world. They go opposite of what they should. They impulse the purchase of a car, but when you're in the gas station trying to pay for gas, dude with his fanny pack is frozen. He can't choose between Dentyne and Eclipse gum. It's freaking him out. I'm like, dude, neither one's going to help you. Buy one. It says sexy on there. It's not talking about you. Okay, move on. Get out of the way. Little decisions should not paralyze you. Make the little ones fast, make the big ones slow, and when you're making big, major decisions, which is kind of what we're talking about today, it gives you time to do it properly. When you're making a big decision, the proper way to do this, it's also, by the way, the proper way to win a negotiation is gather options, options, and more options. If you think there's only two things you can do in this situation, you have not worked on this problem enough yet, and you become fatalistic. Fatalistic is there are two stupid decisions on the table, and you want to choose between the two stupid decisions. And I was forced to do this. No, you weren't. You wimped. You didn't work the problem hard enough. Well, I don't know, man. The landlord, he said if he's going to renew our lease, and we've been here for 10 years, and if we have to move, we're going to die. And so our two decisions are take on a lease that is going to put us out of business or move, and then we're going to go out of business. These are our two possibilities. Not really. Don't we get a little drama queen when we're facing stuff like that and we get fatalistic? And so what you got to do is search out more decisions. I have people call me on the radio. If you listen to the radio show, you hear it all the time. They say stuff like, Dave, there's mold in my house. My children are dying. Possibly. I don't know how much mold you got. That's a lot of mold, but we're all dying. Everyone's sick. We have to move. Okay, move. But the only rental properties in the whole city of Denver are 62% of our take-home pay. We're going to take on a $3,000 rent with a $4,000 take-home pay. This is the only way my family can live. Otherwise, so do we go broke or do we live? The hyperbole is unbelievable, isn't it? The drama is off the charts, and I'm just sitting there going, really? Here's an idea. Leave Denver, then you don't go broke, and you don't, oh, we couldn't leave Denver. Well, then find a rental property that's cheaper. There's no rental properties in Denver. None. You don't know the real estate market in Denver. Do I get this call all the time? These people have already made up their mind. They're going headlong into stupid, and I'm going, stop! Because they've got two possible options, and both of them are bad. It's like you want to go on a date, and you got two possible options with two ugly women. And the biggest problem is one of them has you as an option. So there you go. You got to have options. The more options and options and options you have, the more power you have. Because if you go and you survey all of the rental landscape for your business because your landlord is jacking the lease up on your location, and then you've become an expert on real estate in the area, you may find that there are properties out there that are actually cheaper than what you're currently paying, not even counting the increase. Now, you may or may not want to make that move, but it sure does make the discussion with the landlord different because he's gone into the land of stupid. He's a little over market, and he's wanting to raise that. And now that I've got other options, I've got power. My body language changes when I'm sitting and talking with him or her. My vocal cords reshape. You don't sound like a 13-year-old in the middle of an adolescent crisis while you're trying to negotiate. Instead, it's like, you sound like Chris Hogan. Dude, really? You want me to pay more? Do you see what I'm talking about? Doesn't it change? That's exactly what happens when you have options. Your power changes, even your body language. And it's not some kind of false power. It's just confidence where you were afraid. Now you can go do something else if we have to. I would rather stay here if you and I can work this out. But if we can't, I can go cheaper over here. Why would I accept your increase? And the landlord has to look at you and go, only if you were brain damaged would you accept my increase in this scenario, because you presented a completely illogical thing in front of him for you to do, his increase. But you didn't know that when it was, I'm going out of business, or we're taking the increase and going out of business because we're bankrupt. It's all this hyperbole. More options gives you power. Now, I'm old. Sharon and I have been married 37 years. Wow. I go all the way back to high school in the 1970s. junior high school in the 1970s. See if any of you remember this. I actually had a little black book. Anybody know what that is? That's a list of girls I would like to take out and their phone numbers. And they were in order. Now, I met Sharon at UT, so full disclosure, she was not in that little black book. And that little book, black book has been it's been completely destroyed. I wish I had it because it was so cute. It had little ring binders in it, and you could open it up. It was like a little tiny little notebook. And you could change out the pages if you wanted to. And people used to go, you are scrawny, you're not that good looking, your hair's kind of funky, because when I had hair, it was funky. And you get all these girls to go out with you. How do you do that? And I'm going, because I got options, and when I ask, it's like, I don't have to. It's like, would you please? No, it's more like, want to go out? A long time ago. Options give you power. Options give you confidence. Gather more options when you're making a decision, especially when it involves a negotiation. You might find some options where you can help that landlord decrease some of his costs because you learn something about real estate that he didn't know as you're negotiating with him, and you craft a win-win situation. Options in walking through your worst-case scenarios can eliminate fear. I get this call on the radio, and Sharon and I went through this, and so I'm not being sarcastic without having lived in these shoes, but they will call up and go, Dave, my house is being foreclosed on Thursday. Can you help me stop it? It's Wednesday. No. You should have called me a week ago. Maybe, though. Let's talk about it, though. Before we talk about it, though, let's talk about this. Let's just pretend for a second. Okay, well, help me. The house is going to be foreclosed on tomorrow, and you're going to move. Where are you going to move? You can't lose the house. You're going to lose the house. The house is gone. Where are you going to move? Where are you going to move? Have you heard this call? I don't know. There's a good school district. There's other houses in that school district. And some of them are for rent. They're called rental properties. Have you gone and looked yet? Oh, I can't even conceive. You need to go look. And you need to know where you're going to move because your house is going to be foreclosed on tomorrow. Yeah, I called you for help. Once I get them to emotionally move out of their house into the new rental property, now they're in the best possible position, as a matter of fact, the only possible position, to call that mortgage company and try to negotiate the stop of that foreclosure. Because no one on the planet cares about that guy losing his house except that guy and me for just a few minutes to help him. The people at the mortgage company, it's their J-O-B. They don't give a rip. And they're jerks most of the time. And even if they're professional and not jerks, they don't care. They're going home to their house that is not being foreclosed on after they get off this call. They're not emotionally invested in this decision. So negotiating with that person when you are completely into drama mode, into hyperbole mode, is virtually impossible. So you've got to emotionally move out of the house into the rental property and then go, hey, dude, you really want the house back? You're going to lose your butt. It's upside down. I'm the only one willing to stay and pay these bills because my kids are here and we'll do it. But if you want to take it, you can take it. Good luck with that. Changes the whole tenor, doesn't it? You've got to work through your worst case scenarios when you do that. You ever had a team member that you thought, if this team member leaves, the whole place is going to fall apart? The first guy that ever quit, when we had 5 people or 6 people, I thought, we just lost 20% of our labor force. This guy, and he was smart, not by today's standards, but back then, the bar was low. And I thought, if he left, I don't know how we're going to make it. And then it suddenly occurred to me, I'm not leaving. And I was here before him, and this is here because I made it. We're going to make it. I wish he wasn't leaving. Now I look back, that particular guy, a long time, yeah, it was okay. But you know what I'm saying? You ever had somebody leave and you thought, oh God, how are we going to do it without so-and-so? And it turns out it's okay. Turns out you start quoting scripture to yourself. If all things work together for good, for those that love the Lord and are called according to his purposes. It all works out. We're going to be okay. It's not, but we get hyperbole. Does anybody do drama queen like I'm talking about, like I do in my head? Say yes. Tell me I'm not up here by myself doing drama queen. Because I do this stuff, man. To this day, I do it. But again, with 25, 30 years experience, I do it a little less than I used to. But when that first guy left, I was like, oh, my God, Bob is leaving. Oh, I just said his name. Work through your worst case scenarios. We had a radio group many years ago that had 5 of our biggest cities. I think we were on probably 100 and something cities, and they had 5 of our biggest cities. And the guy calls up and comes to my office and says, in talk radio, mainstream talk radio, we do not pay to be on these radio stations, and they don't pay us. We take a piece of the clock. So in a 4-minute commercial break, I sell 2 spots, one to Churchill, one to Xander, right? Or Timeshare Exit Team, right? And then they sell local to one of you guys, Heating and Air Company or something, and I might endorse that, but it just plays in San Antonio, right? That kind of a thing. They make their money on the San Antonio spots, I make my money on the national ads, and that's how we pay our radio team, okay? But I don't pay KTSA here in San Antonio money to be on their station, and they don't give me a dime for being on their station. So this guy calls up that owns this company that we're on major cities, and he comes to my office and he sits down and he goes, I've been looking and I realized that because you're on the radio in these cities, you make a lot of money in these cities, selling books and doing events, and I want some of that money. And I said, well, it's not your company. He said, we're going to start charging you to be on these cities, $3 million. I said, I don't think so. You don't charge the other people that are on your stations. Well, but they don't have a business model. So you're going to take some of my money. You are really pissing me off here. I'm trying to be nice because these are 5 or 6 major cities, and I don't want to just, destroy them right there. I may wait a while, but, it's too big a situation. I can't just blow up on the guy. But inside, and so he leaves. I sat down on the radio team, and I'm like, crap, what are we going to do? This is crazy. And we started working the problem. Worst case scenario is we lose them all, or we give them $3 million. Both those ideas suck. We're going to lose them all if we don't give him $3 million, but can we get other companies that own radio stations in those cities to put us on? We started working. He gave us 90 days before we had to decide to give him money. And we started working the plan. And oddly enough, out of the 5 cities, we replaced 4 of them with better stations and started relationships that to this day are bearing fruit. That was 10 or 15 years ago. But this guy put us in the corner and aimed at us, and we were scared. And we had to go, worst case scenario, we give him $3 million, can't do that. Worst case scenario is we're just off, and we start without those 5. Well, 5 years ago, we didn't have those 5. Let's go again. We can start again. I don't want to take that far a step back. We did not end up taking a step back. We ended up taking a step forward. We would not have gone and done those deals had he not pushed us out. In the middle of that, I have all these weapons that have been used as props. Apparently, I'm big on props that are weapons. I have a Braveheart sword, a spear from a cannibal tribe in the Amazon, and I have a samurai sword a guy gave me from the shopping channel because I'm a boy and I needed one. So, and Daniel my son was a little guy, and you can lock up a gun. You can't lock up a samurai sword. So I can't take it home because the dog would not do well with this sword and Daniel. So, so I got this collection and I got a baseball bat that they gave me when I was in Louisville from the Louisville Slugger Company, and all this stuff. And so all this stuff, these weapons are leaned in the corner of my office. And so I go in there, I grab the samurai sword, and I grab the bat, and I went into staff meeting, and I said, we're not going down! And I drove that sword up in the stage like that. Poor guy on the front row, it was his first day working there. And, but I mean, it was, bombastic. We're not going to take this. We're not taking this. These guys are after us, and we're going to figure out a way. If we have to start again, by God, we'll start again. If we have to start again with 10% less market share, by God, we'll start again. But we're not going to be blackmailed. We're not going to be put in a corner with a gun aimed at our face and cave. He doesn't get our money, and we're not doing this. Right? You ever been there? Sometimes you cave. But we went and got better outlets for our distribution because the weaker distribution guy got arrogant and greedy. Interesting. The bigger the decision, the more information is needed. Become an expert on the problem. If you're going to build a building, become an expert on building a building. If you're going to move, become an expert on the leasing environment around your business. If you're going to go into a space you've not been into before, become an expert. Gather the experts around you. Start learning the verbiage. I've learned more about technology and digital verbiage and words that I didn't even know existed or went together in the last 36 or 48 months because our business is moving very heavily digital. We're always going to have an analog presence because we love doing stuff like this right here, but this right here is being streamed, so on YouTube and Facebook Live, so there you go, So, I'm having to learn. I was in a meeting the other day, and these guys are throwing these initials around. I thought I was in the Army or something with all their initials. I didn't know what all this meant. It's like, we need a new CTA, and I'm like, call to action, Dave. Oh, got it, okay. You're trying to sell something. Now I'm with you, okay. Right? So I'm having to learn this stuff. Gather more information. It helps you make better decisions. Train your team to bring you several possible solutions, not just bringing you problems. As I said, 60+% of you in here have 50 or fewer people. So let me tell you what is happening in here if you have 27 people. It happened to me all the time. Someone would drop by your office with a cup of coffee, looks like Office Space, the movie, leans up against the doorway and says, have you heard about the problem? They're the bearer of bad tidings. They come to your office twice a week to bring you crap and shovel it into your office. You know what I'm talking about, right? The building's on fire. Did you know? Why aren't you putting it out? Because I'm over there in that other department. And I just thought you'd want to know, though, because your building. You know who I'm talking about. You've had them on your team. So I got those people off of my team by doing two things. One is I'd either fire them. That's pretty effective. Or two is I would train them before I fired them, give them a shot at turning this around. And so they would come into my office and they would say, you have a problem. If somebody come in your office and say you have a problem, you ever get to the end of the day and you go home and you collapse on the couch and your spouse goes, what did you do today? I have no freaking idea, but I'm exhausted. I'll tell you what you did all day. You put out other people's fires. You were not working a strategic plan that indicated your time management and your tactical movements. Instead, you ran around and put out other people's fires that they come in with their coffee cup and they go, you have a problem. If you spend your whole day fixing other people's problems that are on your freaking payroll, that's backward. Did you get it? You're going to fix their problems. You're going to be exhausted all day. So I decided I hired you to help me with these problems. That was the whole concept. Let's work on this. So they would come in and go, you have a problem? I said, no. Do you collect a check here? Yes. Are you part of our team? Yes. So I don't have a problem, baby. We have a problem. Change your pronouns. There's no they, there's an us. Us got a problem. Now what are we going to do about it? I don't know. I just thought I'd let you know. No. You're part of you're here. What are we going to do to fix this problem? As a matter of fact, I need your suggestions right now. I don't know. I just thought I would come in here and bring you the fire. Okay, I'll tell you what. Leave my office. What? Leave my office and come back in an hour. I want 3 or 4 possible solutions to the problem that we have that you brought me. I'm going back to work now. I have stuff to do. Huh? Leave my office, come back in an hour or 2 with some solutions to the problem that we have that you noticed. Because one of the things that happens inside of our building is if you recognize a problem, it is God saying you are appointed to help us fix it. It's a Holy Spirit directive. They come back in, they go, I got these 4 options. I'm going, okay. Option D, straight up sucks. Here's why. Don't even talk. That doesn't work. But teach them. Option D doesn't work. Option B is weak, but here's the weaknesses. So we really got two players in this one, A and C, and which one of those you think we ought to do? Well, I don't know. I'm just kind of scared right now because I brought two bad. No. What do you think we ought to do? And tell me why. And you take so much time. You could have just made the decision, right? But now you're teaching. And so they go, okay. I'm going to go with A. All right. Close, but let's go with B, and here's why. Next time they come in your office, they go, Dave, we have a problem. Takes them a second, right? Yeah, we've got a problem. So what are we going to do about it? I knew you were going to say that, Dave. You're right. I'm predictable. So I came in here. I only found 3 options this time. And based on what you taught me, I think in this case we should go with B. And here's why. And they make their case. And I went, that's pretty good. And, but here's something you didn't know about. I was in a meeting yesterday and you didn't have this information, so unfair to you. But here's something that's going on the other side of the company. And so for that reason, this particular case, we're going to go ahead and go with A. And you teach them not the one they picked, but another one. But here's why. And they get the why, not the what. You give them the why on the decision making, not the what. And then the next time they come in your office, they go, Dave, we've got a problem. Here's 4 options. Based on what you taught me, I think we should do B in this case. Here's the weaknesses of the other 3 as opposed to B. That's really good, dude. Go do it. Me? Yeah, you. Go do it. If you do this for a little while, here's what's going to happen. They won't come in their office anymore with a coffee cup going, you've got a problem. They'll come by your office and wave and go, Dave, we had a problem and I fixed it. And they keep moving. And you go, now I'm running a business. My business isn't running me. Now you're working on your business, not just in your business. Decision-making and the transfer of decision-making is powerful. Steve Brown, an old motivator from back in the 70s, used to do a course out of Atlanta, Georgia on leadership and management. And he says when someone comes in your office with a problem, you need to pretend they have a monkey sitting on their shoulder. And when they say, you've got a problem, that monkey jumps off of their shoulder in the middle of your desk going, and if your job as a leader is when they leave your office, they need to take their monkey with them. Because otherwise people drop off monkeys in your office all day long and you're running a freaking zoo. Take your monkey with you. When you come in, bring me a problem, you're going to leave with the problem defined and you will be deputized to fix it, Barney Fife. Have at it. When you're making decisions, follow the golden rule. This one, you don't really need a big class on business ethics. Treat other people like you'd want to be treated. Ta-da! Just got a graduate course in business ethics. You just got your master's in business ethics. Treat other people like you'd want to be treated. Yeah, but shut up. Treat other people like you'd want to be treated. If you screwed up the customer and you were the customer, how would you want to be treated? Treat them that way. I want to be refunded. I want to make a wow moment, surprise and delight them with how overcome you are with their sadness. Take care of that customer. Blow their minds. Treat other people like you'd want to be treated. We deputize our whole organization to do this culturally. Lady in our customer care team, our customer care team takes about 35,000 incoming calls a month. And a lady in there got the funniest call the other day. This guy called and he sent pictures by email. We had shipped him some DVDs and his Labrador Retriever found them where the FedEx guy left them before he got home. And he was laughing and he said, well, at least the Labrador Retriever has financial peace because it had chewed every one of them up. This dog will never get in debt. We were laughing about it, and the next morning, with no prompting from him, he just called us to tell us a funny story. He was going to reorder, and we went ahead and said, don't worry about it. And the next morning on his doorstep, scheduled where he was there with the FedEx guy, was a brand new set. Was that his Labrador Retriever our fault? No, but we had the opportunity to surprise and delight one of our precious customers and have a moment with them. My cost of goods sold was less than the shipping. My people are using their brains. They were deputized to fix a problem. They knew where to go, how to do it. Treat other people like you'd want to be treated? What do your guiding values tell you about the issue? We have a rule that people don't like outside of our organization. The politically correct world gets very angry with me, which means I'm probably right on track. But in our organization, if you decide you're going to have an affair, if you're going to sleep with people that you are not married, have sex with people you are not married to, we will fire you. Because my theory, and I'm right, is that if your spouse can't trust you, how can I trust you? And organizations move at the speed of trust. I mean, if you'll slit the throat of your own spouse, what would you do to your boss? Lord help us. You just back the truck up and steal everything in here, you know? So, well, you know, you don't have the right. Yeah, I got all kinds of rights. I own the freaking place. You can't fire people for being adulterers. Yeah, adulterers are not a federally protected class under the law. I don't know if I like that or not. I don't care. You run your business. This is mine. This is what my guiding values tell us. By the way, we tell you this when we're hiring you. We tell you this when we're hiring you, and so, you know, one of my top guys about 15 years ago that I really depended on a lot said, he called me Saturday morning, I need to come over and talk to you, and he sat down in my rec room in my house and started crying, telling me how he'd been sleeping with one of the other guy's secretary. I said, what were you thinking? He goes, wasn't. I went, yeah. He goes, yeah, I knew as soon as I left that room that I was fired. It was just a matter of when you found out. And I'm here to tell you, so you have to fire me. I said, yep. By the way, he and I are still friends. I didn't throw him out of my life. He just can't work for me. Well, do people that have messed up in the past work for you? Yep, but not while they're there. This is our deal. That's one of our guiding values. It's very, very, very clear. In other words, the decision is already made when we get the information. It's just the pain of implementing it. So I don't have to have an indecisive moment. I just got to cry while I'm doing it because I love this guy. I hate that he had a stupid idea. And I'm looking at her going, that wasn't worth it. And, you know, that was expensive, right? I'm going, you really are stupid on a lot of levels, but I love you anyway, man, and I get it. I understand, but oh my gosh, right? Wow. Simon Sinek says that leaders, and by the way, Simon was with us last year, and he's going to be with us again soon, hint. And he wrote the book Start With Why, but he wrote another book called Leaders Eat Last, and he was doing a TED Talk on the subject, and this is powerful. Give this a watch. When you're making decisions, don't let your principles change, but frequently change your processes. If you do the opposite and never change your processes, well, we change principles all the time. You're what's known as a bureaucrat. Is there a way to minimize the risk by making the decision bite-sized? Can we run a split test on our website? If you don't know what that is, you can channel a portion of your traffic to your website over to the side and to a different website, let your customers have a new experience, 10% of your traffic, and test and see how they're reacting to your new page without launching the whole thing to a new page without having tested it, and then find out it's wrong. So do split tests. As a matter of fact, we have at any given moment in any given department right now a culture of testing. We're continually iterating and testing little tiny slices all the time. One department right now has 300 tests running at this moment on just their section of the website. And so if you come, you may get one of two different experiences in 300 different places within that one brand. Because we're finding where the color works, where the button is, every little nuance of the thing, and we're checking. We don't have to, you know, do new Coke and then find out nobody likes it and have to go back to original Coke. It's a bad idea. So you want to do it in little slices. What are the financial implications of the decision? We all read books in our world, particularly those of us that run small businesses. We read books of the guy who took out a loan on his house, and he started with nothing, and he had a big SBA loan, and he barely made it, and now he's a multi-bazillionaire. And I won't name the three of them that come to mind right now. For every one of those that win the lottery, there are the 90 million people that went broke using the same system and did not win the lottery. So we have a rule at our place. We do not do James Bond financial decisions. James Bond financial decisions are this. In any episode of a James Bond movie, somewhere around the middle to the 3/4 of the way through in the story arc, James finds himself in a casino. The beautiful evil woman is on his left. The nice hero, beautiful woman is on his right. And the whole destiny of the entire human race rests on this one hand of whatever. Roulette, that's not a hand, but I mean, one hand of poker of some kind, right? And at some point, he pushes all the chips to the middle of the table, and we all tremble because if he doesn't win, we're all going to die. Of course, we know in our subconscious how this is going to turn out, but we still tremble because we're caught up in the story. Don't do that in your business. That's stupid. When you push everything to the center of the table, meaning if this doesn't work, we go broke, that's a bad strategy. Try little pieces. You took too much work to get here. We're going to give it all up on one play? I don't think so. No, little strategies, little strategies, little strategies. And so we had a big retailer, which shall go unnamed, that wanted to carry our stuff. And it was like $10 million worth of stuff. And we weren't that big a company, and $10 million. But they wanted full returns. And we were doing custom-made stuff for them that if it didn't work and they returned it, got all their money back, all our stuff had to go in the dumpster because it had their freaking name printed on the front of it. And so we're like, you want full returns? Yeah, that means if it doesn't sell, we get them all back and we lose $10 million. And they said, well, yeah, I guess that could work that way. And I went, no. You're going to miss doing business with so-and-so and so-and-so? Yes. But I didn't miss doing business with them. Eventually, it came around, and some of them carry some of our stuff some places. But we didn't do a deal where if it didn't work, we went broke. That sounds like it's a good deal for them and a bad deal for me. All the chips to the center of the table on one play? No, thank you. I'm out. In the multitude of counsel, there's safety, the Bible says. Gather learned and wise people around you. People who have some experience, and let them talk to you. Ask experts. Find people that know more than you. I have an estate planning attorney who is very expensive, and he knows a lot more about estate planning than I do. I ask an expert in that area. I know a lot about estate planning, but mine is a barrel of fish hooks trying to keep the government's hands off of all my work. I have a tax guy. God, shoot me if I had to do my own taxes. Unbelievable. I have experts in different areas of our business. We bring in, specialists in the law in certain areas. If we have an issue in a certain area of the company, we learn. We have general counsel on staff, but he can't know everything about every piece of the law. So sometimes he leads the team that solves the problem. Ask an expert, by the way, someone who's done it lately, not someone who has an opinion. I'm in the broadcast world, and in the radio business, there are these things called consultants. Now, in some businesses, there are consultants that are legitimate consultants. They really know what they're doing, and they can teach you something about that area. In some businesses, when you have a consultant, it simply means unemployed. So I'm between jobs, so right now I'm a consultant. I'm freelancing with my advice that didn't work at the last place. And that's the case in radio. There's about 2 consultants out of 14 that know what they're doing, and the rest of them just muck up everything. And so they basically wish they could be on the air. They wish they had a successful show like a Sean Hannity, a Dave Ramsey, or a Glenn Beck, or Rush Limbaugh, somebody like that. They wish they could be that guy. They once were on the air on Saturday morning, so now they have a lot of opinions about what you should do when you're on the air, and they will tell you if you give them money. That's just, we figured out real quick in the radio business, there's just a couple of them actually have a clue. Most of them are stupid. So be careful when you're picking out experts. Ask your spouse when you're making major decisions. The Bible says, who can find a virtuous wife? For her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her, and he will have no lack of gain. We do not make decisions at the Ramsey house without Sharon speaking into it. Big decisions. Now, I make a lot of decisions that in the old days would have been called big, but now they're just operational inside of our organization. But if we're making a big decision, we're building a $50 million building right now, 200,000 square feet, $10 million to buy the land. I'm from Antioch, Tennessee. That makes my throat tight. So to say that Sharon was involved prayerfully in all of those decisions was, oh, definitely. Was Sharon an expert on real estate and business? No, Sharon has a degree in home ec. But she has these antennae on top of her head that tune into the Holy Spirit in places I don't. And if she gets a bad feeling, she's from the hills of East Tennessee, it's a feeling. If she gets a bad feeling and I go against that feeling, it costs me 10 grand minimum every time I do it. I quit doing it. I don't make major decisions. Sharon doesn't make major decisions by herself either. The two of us make major purchase decisions, giving decisions, life decisions together. We check in. Now, sometimes it doesn't mean much to her or me. She wants to do this thing, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, go. Do it, have at it. She likes to travel. I don't, but I do with her, for her, and that kind of stuff, right? But I travel to do this kind of stuff. Traveling is, it's only glorious for people who don't do it. And so, anyway, she's, right, so yeah, go. But she doesn't come in and go, I'm going to Israel. You're doing what? Which she did do a while back. She went to Israel, but she came in and goes, I'd like to go to Israel. What do you think about that? Definitely, I think you should go. We know who it was, we know who she was going with. Ladies' trip, a bunch of them went. It was a great trip. And so, but she didn't just come in and tell me what she's going to do. And I don't come in and tell her what I'm going to do on something that big. We work together. Make better decisions that way when you use your whole brain. If all else fails, write yourself a report describing the problem. Now, a high D or high I is unlikely to do this. We'll just make a decision, and if it's wrong, we'll make another one. But you high C's that like details, write yourself out a full report with, footnotes and everything. By the time you finish writing the report, you will have processed the information, and the logic portions of your brain have to go to a different level of process in order to write it down than just jumbled. Even if you're a high C, this works. And by the time you finish writing the report, just like when you're having a conversation with your friend to tell them about your problem, by the time you finish telling them about the problem, you know the answer. They just look at you and go, what was I here for? You were a sounding board. You ever heard that? Because you processed it to get it out verbally, and that extra level of processing caused you to know the answer. Process it one more time to do it written, and you'll know the answer. I'm not going to do this. I'll just make a decision. Just so I don't have to write a report. I'll just make a decision. But here's the deal about decisions. Making decisions will set you free. The most anxiety-ridden people on the planet are indecisive people. They can't make a decision. They're the squirrel in the road. As a leader, it freezes your whole team up, and it adds stress to you and stress to everyone in the organization if you don't make the call. Again, sometimes slowing down to make the call is good. Sometimes speeding up to make the call is good. Having options, having power, having information, all these different things work. As a matter of fact, let's go back through and look at the list of what we've talked about so you'll know what they are one more time. Decisions, make decisions in spite of being afraid. Sometimes you're afraid. It's okay to be actively passive. Deciding to wait until you calm down is a good decision. Take time equal to the size of the decision. Big decision, big time. Little decision, little time. Set a self-imposed deadline on the calendar if a natural one doesn't exist. We knew this event had a set date, so we knew those workbooks had to be in your hand, so the creative team had a built-in deadline. They didn't have to make a decision on that deadline in order to get it to print, in order to get it here, in order for it to be in front of you. Gather options, and more options. If the only two options you have suck, you are in drama mode, hyperbole mode. Back off. Don't be a fatalist. He with the most information makes the best decision. Gather information, and more information. It will give you options. Clearly state your values and make decisions that match. That will set your team free too, because then they think you are a leader of integrity, because you are a leader of integrity when your decisions match your values. When your decisions don't match your values, we don't know if you have any values. Break the decision into smaller bites. Determine the financial implications of the decision. We don't do James Bond, we don't do all in. Ask real experts with the heart of a teacher how to do your investments, how to make your decision, how to do this. Seek the counsel of your spouse and write yourself a report if all else fails. Making decisions is an art form. It's both science and art and science, and it can be done. And your organization will be changed as you implement some of these really basic ideas. Now, we are really blessed inside the Ramsey organization to have an incredible amount of talent, which means that the next generation, this organization will be not only bigger, but better than when it used to be little old bald Dave on the stage by himself. And that is called the Ramsey Personalities. One of our Ramsey Personalities we launched a radio show with last September on Sirius XM, and to say that the numbers on it have exploded is an understatement. This guy and I have been friends a long time. He's been on our team a long time, and to have him see him have this unbelievable level of personal success on Sirius XM has been really rewarding from a business and a leader standpoint, but just also as his friend to watch him win makes me smile. And he is going to be our host this week. He's author of the book, One Question, and be sure and check out The Ken Coleman Show on Sirius XM. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ken Coleman.